Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa for yet another video on the Nordschleife challenge. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today, as you can see on screen, we are going to be taking out this is the Ferrari 512 Testarossa. I'm going to be taking out in this specific colour. I know it might look green, it is actually Nero, so it's actually black. I know it looks green, but it isn't, it is black. And I'm going to be taking this out with the red interior simply because I have a model of this car, a very small 1:62 scale model of this car from when I was a lot younger, and it was in this colour. Although I'm not sure if it's had a red interior, I think it might have had a cream interior. Nevertheless, I think the red interior will do. Anyway, a little bit about this car before we get started. So this is, of course, a Ferrari, a naturally aspirated Ferrari V12, but the V's are in 180 degrees, so we would refer to this as a flat 12. Produces 422 brake horsepower at 6,750 RPM, which is fairly high up. I believe that's about 700 RPM below its red line. I think its red line 7,400 or somewhere around that figure. 362 pound-feet of torque, or 491 newton meters at 5,500 RPM, not 550 RPM, 5,500 RPM. All of that power and torque is delivered to the rear wheels through a manual 5-speed gearbox, and it is then delivered to the road through the tyres, of course, which are 235/40 R18s on the front and 295/35 R18s on the rear. So a pretty powerful car with some nice wide rear tyres. It is mid-engined, so the flat 12 engine is sort of right underneath, I suppose it'd be right underneath the centre brake light, underneath that plastic or veneer cover, whatever it is. That cover could even be carbon fibre, to be honest. It's under that cover, so it is mid-engine. It's slightly lower than, I believe, the original Testarossa, 30mm lower or something like that with the gearbox, and they've managed to do some tweaks which made this car better on braking. You have lower profile tyres than the original, which means you can have bigger wheels, which means that you can have bigger brakes, so your stopping power is better. Obviously it's not going to handle the bumps as well, but they've managed to sort out the suspension to try and improve upon that. So there is a lot in this car that looks like the original Testarossa, but it is of course a lot more powerful. As we've said, I think the original Testarossa must have been something like 350 bhp, something like that, so we're up a good 70 odd brake horsepower in this particular car. I think the mass of the car is sort of similar, so we are looking at about 1,590 kilograms, or 3,500 pounds, give or take a few pounds. So it's not too heavy, but it isn't maybe as light again as perhaps actually I'm not sure how much modern Ferraris are. It isn't too heavy anyway, given the power of it, the styling, the design, the amount that's there, and the technology that was available at the time. This is pretty good. Any other information that I am forgetting to mention? Yes, 0 to 60 on this car is about 4.7 seconds with a top speed of 195 miles per hour, which is 315 kilometers per hour. Something along those lines, and I think that is pretty much all of the information that is required. So up on screen right now is going to be the lap times from last video, and of course you can see the Exige scorer there in 8th place, but I think we're not looking at 8th place for this car. For this car, we are looking in the top 5. This is one of those cars that can go there. I think the original was pitted against the Countach. This one could be pitted against the Diablo. As I've mentioned before, the Ferrari F40 has at least another 10 seconds in it. It's just a matter of getting used to that car. The 570S probably has about 2 or 3 seconds in it. The Diablo is pretty much where it's going to be. Again, maybe 1 or 2 seconds. And the Viper is probably about a second or two as well. The CTR Yellowbird can get a lot faster, so I think this car might slot in between the Diablo and the Viper, depending on how easy this car is to drive. Of course, no traction control on this car, not that I use traction control anyway, but also there is ABS on this car, no ABS, and we are going to be using the vintage tyres, so that might just make a difference. I'm going to obviously check that at a later date, so if the vintage tyres do make a massive difference, I'll maybe use the modern street tyres, so we'll see. Anyway, as usual, I'm going to be doing a couple of laps on Patreon, getting used to the car, getting some practice, getting a feel for it, after which I will do the laps that you will see on screen next. So if you want to see the practice, do go check out the Patreon. If not, it's completely okay, it's up to you, but enjoy the rest of this video where hopefully this is going to get a decent lap time. In fact, let me know in the comments box right now, what lap time do you think this car is going to get? Okay, here we go. So I've done a little bit of driving. I've done 2 laps of this car. I've driven this car before, but I've never really driven this car in anger before. I've always been on, canyon cruises and things like that. I've never really given this car, the maximum attack. I doubt I'm going to be giving this car maximum attack today, but I certainly am going to be trying to do some sort of attack. So what have I learnt on my 2 essentially reconnaissance laps? 1, the car is very stable in terms of it's just quite a balanced car, but 2, it doesn't like being pushed right to its limits. I think the tyres, obviously being the vintage tyres, I think that might be part of the limiting factor on this car, because it does seem like going around corners this car does not have the sort of grip. You can just see it there, does not have the sort of grip that I would expect from the tyres given their profile. So I'm just a little bit curious about how much of an impact that is actually having. Now, I have had a few mishaps, quite a few mishaps actually, so you might see skid marks from in quite a few places. There's one, for example. So you'll see a few of those around. Generally, those mishaps have been coming out of corners or going into corners a little bit too quickly and things like that. That one, interestingly enough, that you just saw was not a mishap so much as just the car squirreling ridiculously under braking, and me just trying to do everything I can to prevent it from not crashing. I did not crash coming up that hill. It was just very, very finicky. Now, admittedly, I've not managed to get any representative times out of this car so far. Not even for, as you can see, not even for my own knowledge. So normally what I do is I'd get a representative time through most of the lap and then back off in key places. I've not really managed to do that either, which is interesting. So there are a few places where I've managed to just get maybe the tiniest amount of there we go, the tiniest amount of speed going through it, and then had to immediately back out because I've messed it up somewhere else, and that's happened quite a bit. So you will see little purple sectors here, and I would say grey sectors for you, that would have been purple on a different lap, but there should be a lot of purple coming up overall, I think. The thing about this car is that trail braking is a little difficult, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's just the way the car is set up or what. It is quite difficult to trail brake in this car at this point in time. There is also understeer, which I think is to do with the tyres, but you can feel that mechanically it put better tyres on the car, which I probably should have in hindsight, and this car is very, very good to drive. It is agile, it's just very, it just feels very direct. Now I'm going to keep it in fourth here. The reason being is that fifth gear is very, very long. It's a very long gear, so there's no point me putting it into fifth. And I did slow down a bit too much there. Did that just go red just now, or did that go red at an earlier point? Because I have not noticed. The brakes on this car, you can press them in a fair amount, but there is ABS, and obviously that means that the brakes are capable of being pushed just that little bit harder than you probably would want to with your own foot easily. Carousel has been a problem for me in all the laps. That was probably the worst I've ever taken it in this car in the 3 laps that I've had. But it was a problem in the other laps too. Not a big problem. I think the maximum speed I managed to take it at was, that one was 44, but dropping out. So I think 47 was the most I managed to take this at. Just to bear in mind, it is a mod. This is not an official Kunos car. It's a fantastic mod. Sounds can be improved just a little bit, but it is a very good mod. And by sounds improved a little bit, I mean the blending's a little bit off. You might hear it around the, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 RPM range. You'll hear a stranger blending, should I say, maybe not strange. And I'm really getting the transitions wrong through all of that, which is kind of not ideal. So at the moment I'm not looking at the lap time. I might glance at it when I get a chance. All I can see is when it flicks up with a lot of red or a lot of green. So right now I know it's got a lot of red. But I'm hoping we can bring that up to plenty of green. Yeah, I can just see in the corner of my eye plenty of green. But this car is pretty good to drive. Again, I think the tyres are letting it down just a little bit. Which is probably my own fault. I really should have. I should have looked at that and said, okay, this car probably requires street tyres. Oh dear. But yes, I think the tyres are certainly letting it down. But let's see. There's that blend. You might have just heard that blend coming on and off throttle. Right, let's see what lap time I can make of this. 8:25. That isn't good. That's not even front page. That's not even the top. We're looking at minimum 8:15 is what would be required. Well, that isn't good at all. Okay. Right, brakes. I was not great on the brakes there, but that's okay. Where have we stopped this car into on the first lap? 8:11. That's literally the Skura territory. So that isn't good. We need to improve upon that somehow. Alright, so lap 2 was a bust because I managed to have an accident. So I messed that up. So let's try on lap 3. 811 is very slow for what I was expecting from this car. I was expecting a lot more. So as usual, I'm not going to be looking at the times anymore. I'm just going to be able to see maybe the green and red a little bit. Most likely not even enough to be able to make a determination as to what's going on. But I'm going to see if I can improve upon this 811. Now I know I probably lost a couple of seconds at mini carousel, which is fine, you know, that's something that would happen. And I know I've lost a few seconds elsewhere, but I'm not sure. I think maybe the tyres are playing a very big part here in what I've got. Yeah, see, I'm not able to get that lap time in, because I'm not able to get the grip that I would expect from these tyres. So yes, I've just messed up that lap as well, but let's see if I can perhaps improve a little bit through sections like these. Just try my very best. In fact, I'm just going to try everything. Let's just see everything I've got over the next 2 laps, see what happens. Maybe I won't talk much either. I always say that and then I end up talking quite a bit. Coming up that hill is difficult. I will say that. Coming up that hill is very difficult. Some time to be had there. It's early braking. These older cars always require a lot more concentration, a lot more thought, because the newer cars are, I suppose, designed to be, you know, the way they are. They're designed to be thrown around a little bit more than these cars. These cars require a little bit more respect. You can hear the understeer going through that. Tyre lock-up, not ideal. It's very easy to lock tyres into that section. Similarly here, because there's some bumps, it's also very easy to lock tyres into this section if you brake you brake as late as you think you're going to brake, and it just doesn't work for you, as you would maybe be braking on another piece of flat ground. But I know for certain the 8 minutes 11 can be beaten. The question is now, by how much? That really is the new question. So you have 8 minutes 11, but what are we looking at? 8 minutes 10? 8 minutes 9? Are we going to beat the M4? That's 8 minute 5, I think. If it wasn't for the understeer, this car would be fantastic to drive, but that understeer, I think it's just outright lack of tyre grip. I think just that outright lack of tyre grip is causing problems. Even out of that corner, it's the first time I've had a car drive like that going through those corners. Maybe I'm just driving this car just a little bit too quickly overall. It could very well be that as well. Because I'm just thinking, okay, this Ferrari should be driving a lot faster than it is. But clearly it isn't. It isn't able to do that. I think third gear is good through all of these. then down to second here. The other thing is, I think because it's an older car, one of the things that I have to do is I have to really be patient with it. I've got to be patient with the throttle. Patient, make sure it's settled before I pick up that throttle, because otherwise it doesn't like it. And similarly here on turning, just be patient on the turning as well. Make sure it can settle itself. By the way, that wasn't a crash. That was me trying to drift it on the lap. I messed up, so I thought, okay, maybe I'll be able to get a good thumbnail or something. So I just decided, right, I'm drifting the car around that corner. Wasn't exactly the greatest of drifts, but it is probably enough for me to have a thumbnail. So that's not the only place I did a drift. There's a couple of locations where you might see some skid marks where that was actually me drifting. Something that you do not often see on, in fact, I think you rarely see on camera. Very rarely do I drift a car on camera, simply because I'm not very good at it. I'm not a drifting person. Never have been. I think drifting is cool when done right, but obviously I'm not. I much prefer to have control over the car. Right, probably about 2 seconds in here, so let's get this right. There we go. Okay, we're heading up towards the 8 minutes 8. That's pretty good. Given the mishap earlier as well, that was another second gone. So 8 minutes 8 plus whatever else. Could we on a good lap get an 8 minutes 5? I'm doubting it. I'm very much doubting it. It just seems like the tyres are not capable. The engine's really nice. It's so instant. Obviously naturally aspirated. It is such an instant response. Your foot is connected directly to the engine in that sense. I know obviously it always is, but I mean more so looking at it in terms of slow down, there you go. Looking at it in terms of without any turbocharger, so there's no spooling, it just goes. 8 minutes 7. Okay, fine. Let's see if I can improve upon an 8 minutes 7 now. Better lap, obviously with that mistake as well. So, I'll just keep trying. Go on. Again, it's a lot of waiting to pick up the throttle, which is something I'm not used to, and it isn't waiting to. Yeah, it's just. I think the tyres just say, right, hang on a moment whilst I compose myself, and then you can pick up the throttle all you want. And you just have to be careful. I'm almost 100% certain this is tyre related. The issues here are tyre related. And the reason I say I'm almost 100% certain on that is because I feel it. I feel the lack of tyre. I feel the lack of grip there. 8 minutes 6. Okay. The challenge for the beating the M4 is on. Come on. That challenge is now on. We are half a second for the M4. I could easily mess this up. Especially coming up this hill. This hill's very dangerous. Be careful. That was all very slow. I'm trying very much to keep the car intact. That's the other thing. Keeping the car intact is probably a little bit more important than the fastest of lap times now. Although I suppose the whole thing is about fast lap times. We've got one on the board, so that's good. I think that is probably surprisingly representative of the car in its current state with its current tyres. Whether the other tyres would change that, I actually am not certain. They might. It might very well be a case of the other tyres would have that changed. Right, let's try and get this much better. Turning on this car is a little bit... The turning circle is not very good. Not very good at all. Careful. There we go. Come on. And that's all that gone. Yeah, that's one thing. That's another thing to point out. Bad turning circle. Bad turning circle. We are still within a second of the M4. And I know places where I can gain, you know, half a tenth here, 2/10 there. But it's all about not losing it in other places where on a lap this long it is so easy to lose time in places. So you could gain a quarter second in one place but lose it somewhere else very easily. That is as much as I would want to cut that corner. Leave it in fourth. Right, on the brakes here, down to third, turn in, back on the throttle. Probably as good as that is going to get. I do not think I'm getting any better than that. Yep, that section was probably as good as it's going to get us with these tyres and this much practice. Let's see if I can improve a little bit here. Go on. There we go. That was probably as fast as I could go through there as well. I could feel the car trying to understeer out of the carousel, and that's obviously a big problem if it does that. There we go. We're okay there. We're okay there. Careful. Nicely into second. Try and pick up the throttle. There we go. Right, this section I can gain about... I know I've got about half a second in it if I can get this correct, which I haven't managed to get correct yet. Come on. Ah, that wasn't perfect, but it still probably was enough. Probably gained about 2/10. This section as well, I can really gain time. Just keep it very slow through here, so you can turn it in and then get on the throttle. Same for here, just turn it in. There we go. And the exact same for this one. So those three corners, all three are very different corners, but they all require the exact same approach. Because each of them has either an up or a down to mess around with them. So it's either going uphill or downhill, and each of them has a bump or a lip, whether it's a depression or a bumper upwards. Oh, careful. Really trying here now. I want to beat the M4 at least. I'm surprised at this car. I am very much surprised. I was thinking this would be a lot faster than it has been. Oh no, that's probably ruined it. That last corner means I'm going to be slow all the way down this straight. Let's try and rev all the way out. Come on, come on, come on. 8:05, 7:74 to beat. Close as I can get, there you go. On the brakes a little. On the brakes, there we go, go on. What is the time? 8:05, was that 5:00 or 5:09? I think that was an 8:05, 5:09. That was surprising. That actually surprised me very much. I was expecting a lot more out of this. That's going up on your times on the timesheet right now in front of you. So that slots this car into 7th place. Now I was expecting, what was I saying? I thought it was going to be perhaps 4th place, maybe 5th, but this car is 7th, about 10 seconds off the pace of what I thought it would be. Now, what could be the reasons for that? I think there's only one reason, aside from my lack of practice, which is obviously a reason all the time. And that reason, I think, is the tyres. I think these tyres are not best suited to get the maximum lap time out of this car in its current configuration. So I think that is something to look at. Obviously on the screen you can see it says tyres vintage. So that vintage tyre choice does tell us, I'll try this maybe off camera on like a tourist track or something to see what kind of lap time differences there are. Proper lap time differences, and it might be the tyres, it might be something else. It might just be that this car is just not capable of doing what we're trying to get it to do. So what about driver rankings? Where does it go on the driver rankings? So at the moment the Cayman is top of the list. This thing is not going to be battling for the top of the list, not at all. Where is this thing probably going to be battling? It is a nice car to drive. I'm not going to deny that fact. It is a very nice car to drive, I'll be honest. It feels very similar in a way to the M4 and the Mazda. So at the moment in the top 10 you have the M4. I think we've got the M4 in 9th place and the Mazda in 10th. And similar to how the lap time is just ahead of an M4, in a way this it does feel a little bit like an M4, but I think the manual gearbox gives it that advantage. The naturally aspirated aspect of it as well gives it an advantage over the RX-7, which, though very, very smooth, you do have that weird turbo thing to it. And though I very much like that car, this car is slightly higher up than those. Then of course you've got the Skura. The Skura was last week's car, which went into 8th place, and again I think it was just the way the car drove that brought it up there, and the ABS, the braking really is what let that car down. There you go, you heard the lock up there. So I think we're probably looking in that territory. Definitely not the ECGadget. The ECGadget was really nice to drive, and then there is a little bit of a gap, realistically, down to the Diablo. So I don't think this is as good as the Diablo to drive. Not quite as good. Almost as good, but not quite as good. So I'm going to place this. I think I'm going to place this, giving it the benefits of the doubt as well on the other tyres. I'm going to place this between the Skura and the Diablo. So the Skura only lasts 1 week in 8th place, and this is now beating it to 8th place. So there you go, that is now up on your screen for you guys to enjoy. I think that very much brings me to the end of this video. I do apologise for driving that wasn't fantastic. I do generally only drive these cars, and I only drive in sims for the time that you see me driving for the most part. It's very rare that I get time to do anything outside of that, and the time that I've driven this car in anger is exactly what you saw on screen, barring one lap. So that's the only thing that you didn't see. I've not driven this car in anger at any other point. Right, that is all for this video, so thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa, and if you have any other ideas of videos that you want to do, please do let me know. I did get an email to review a new type of HUD. I haven't got around to doing that yet. I may try and get that done. It looks like one of the LMP HUDs. It's available on race departments, so you've probably seen it, and it might be useful for any particular ideas that I might have going forward with Assetto Corsa. So I might give that a quick review. But if you have any ideas for cars for this challenge, or videos you would just like to see, please do leave that in the comments box below. If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/ECGadget. Your support would be massively appreciated. It would really help me out, and also you can find me on social media at ECGadget LP for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me, and I will see you next time in Assetto Corsa for whatever video I come up with next. And also, amazingly, whilst I'm talking through all of this, I've actually managed to do a lap that is not too far off the lap that I just did, which is a bit weird. That was unexpected. Okay, let's go over the grass there. That was that's very unexpected. In fact, amazingly, this lap might actually beat that other one. That's going to be saying something. Now, I'm talking to you guys, and I'll go ahead and beat the previous lap I just did. Nope, there it goes. Messed that one up. As it should be. That was the fastest lap, so there you go. Anyway, that is all from me, and I'll see you next time.